Hey, what's going on? We haven't spoken in a while. This is the Leafs Convo for Oak Ridge Ford in London, Ontario, oakridgeford.com. It is Sunday, September 5th, 2021. Like, we're literally 6 weeks away. What we think will be a typical NHL season. I'm Norm in London, Ontario, joined as always by my podcast partner in crime, the one and only Michael Augello from Cheektowaga, New York. You're still in Cheektowaga, aren't you?
Yes, land of the pink flamingo and the capital of Buffalo.
And the capital of Buffalo. And you can get a quick test there, and hopefully that goes well for you so we can get your ass up to Canada, Mr. A. So we literally haven't done a show or a podcast or a collab for, I don't know, almost 2 months now. And, a lot has gone on, and then the dust has settled, and we're officially into season 4 of this endeavor. So there's a lot to catch up on, but I don't really want to go too far back and act like us discussing things that have transpired with the Maple Leafs is new in this moment. So feel free to say a few things that, you probably would have said on a podcast had we put one together 6 weeks ago. And then we can kind of push forward a little bit and get, acclimated to the setup that we know and love as the Leafs Convo. And then we'll do this on a weekly basis as we push forward towards the season and more when needed.
Well, I know that the general feeling of Leaf Nation was somewhat underwhelming with the moves that were made over the summer. I mean, really, it stopped a few days into free agency. There were not any major trades or anything of that nature, or any kind of, Morgan Riley didn't sign a long-term extension. They made their moves early, and then they basically shut down operations for, there was a move here or there, a minor league signing here or there, but nothing much after the first few days. And if you just look over the team, sort of on a broad brush approach, Freddie Anderson leaves, and now the goaltending tandem is going to be Jack Campbell and Peter Mrazek. I was not the biggest fan of that signing because Mrazek has been somebody through his time in Detroit and in Carolina who I always deemed to be sort of an inconsistent goaltender. But they're looking at a tandem here. They're looking at a 1A, 1B scenario with Campbell and Mrazek, and I think they're looking for them to push each other. So Campbell plays 40 games and Mrazek plays 40 games. That might be a more successful scenario. And obviously with the whole load management situation, if Campbell is the number one going into a playoff scenario, then him going in playing 40 games is what they're looking for. But then if he has a good year, then they have to sign him to a contract. So on defense, the top 4 stay the same. It right now looks as if they're going to let Timothy Liljegren, Travis Dermott, and Rasmus Sandin battle for the 2 spots on the bottom pairing. But Kyle Dubas earlier in the summer said he was still looking to replace Zach Bogosian, who left for Tampa. And there might be somebody, 1 or 2 defensemen that they might bring in on a PTO to challenge for a spot. And the name, and everybody cringes when I mention this name, but Eric Branson is somebody that I think would. He's not as good as Bogosian. He's not as fast as Bogosian, but he would provide that sort of veteran toughness. And I'm not saying as a starter, maybe as a 7th guy. When you're playing against a tougher team, this is a guy who you'd use as a penalty killer, as sort of a physical presence on the blue line. Otherwise, you're very unexperienced and you're very small on the blue line on the bottom pairing. And Bogosian's loss on the PK is something that I think that they're going to feel unless they bring in another defenseman. At forward, obviously Hyman leaves. Obviously Nick Foligno signs with Boston. Galchenyuk is not back, at least not yet. He's still out there as a free agent. They bring in Michael Bunting. They bring in Nick Ritchie, David Kampf as a depth center. I like the Ritchie signing, but it's a question of where Ritchie plays. If it's top 6, I know people have said that they're a little concerned with his lack of speed, but he did score with Boston in a sort of top 6, top 9 role. So I don't think he would hurt them playing with, say, Tavares or Nylander, or, I don't think he's going to play on the top line. I think Bunting is going to be the Zach Hyman replacement, another ex-Sioux Greyhound who had a, pretty decent window with the Coyotes last year, but he scored like 10 goals in 21 games. It's a question mark whether that will show over a full 82 game schedule, or if that was just a blip. So there's a lot of unknown, unproven things, and there are still moves that they could make in terms of PTOs and maybe bringing in a player here or there. So, we'll see that in the next couple of weeks, but it wasn't a spectacular offseason, but I don't think it was as bad as some people were making it out to be.
This is the combo, Norm and Mike. No show-stopping moves, more stop-gap moves. At least that's the perception. So, there's three elements here. There is the faction the Leafs lost, the players that were on the team that many thought would be contributors to a long run in the playoffs that have just gone by, and clearly that wasn't the case. There are the players who've been brought in, not a star-studded group by any sense of the imagination. And then there is the group of players who remain. Where do you think the focus needs to be, Mike? Should we be lamenting these players lost? There's a lot of talent that left. Being pissed off about a relatively lackluster group being brought in, and that's unfair at this point because we don't know what they're going to produce for the Maple Leafs. But it's not like people are on the edge of their seat waiting to see just how dominant Michael Bunting can be. Well, or should we just be focused on the fact that, look, the principal players of this team and of this rebuild remain, and these are the guys at the end of the day who couldn't rise to that next level to get this team past Montreal. They're the ones who remain intact, in place, and whether there's a bit of a revolving door, these are the guys who lost that series to Montreal. These are the guys we're going to have to make amends for it.
Well, I mean, as always, the focus is going to be on the core group, on the top 4 at forward, on the 3 or 4 on defense, and on the goaltending. But you have to say that there has to be a focus on the supporting cast. I mean, Zach Hyman was an important part of this team.
Yeah.
And, his loss, I mean, it's going to be tough to replace him. And what they're going to try to replace him with is not somebody who has the same characteristics as Hyman. Bunting is more of an offensive player. He's apparently a very feisty guy. The one thing I did like about the moves, one of the things I did like about the moves that Dubas made was that he brought in players after bringing in the veteran guys, after bringing in Thornton and bringing like 30-something players like Foligno in a trade, or Wayne Simmons, who they brought back. They went with players who are in their prime. Ritchie's 25, Bunting is 25, Camp I think is 26. So there are players who age-wise are in their prime.
Mike, sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
What do you think Dubas, through these moves, through changing the mindset and bringing in younger players who you say are in their prime, what do you think he's trying to say to the fan base, to the corporation, and the fans?
Well, I don't think he's, like, with these moves, is speaking to the fans or even the organization. I think he was making moves that he could make based on the lack of cap space that he had. I mean, this was, Bunting was signed for under $1 million. The Ritchie was signed for $2.5 million, both on multi-year deals. Camp for $1.5 million for 2 years. He had very little, unless he made the move that I had been advocating for years, which is to trade Nylander to create space. He operated on the periphery to fill the holes that were created by the departures of Hyman and Foligno by going for, what he thought were bargains. I mean, Bunting, he's got something to prove. He played a couple years in the minors in Arizona. He got his chance last year. He played really well. A lot of people were interested in him. He wanted to play for Toronto. He's from the Toronto area. He played for Dubas and the Sioux, and he figures if I come in and play really well for 2 years, making less than $1 million, I can use this as a springboard to get a big contract, probably someplace else because they won't be able to afford them. But that's the model that Dubas has been following for a few years, is bring guys in, and let them show their wares in Toronto, and then they probably move on. But he didn't have a lot of operating room to maneuver. And, I think that they're depending on some of their young prospects to step up. I mean, we'll see what Nick Robertson does. We'll see what Rasmus Sandin does. I mean, they need players on their entry-level contracts to come in and be effective because they need those cheap contracts. But in the end, it's going to be down to those core players. But the problem is that after this year, it's more on them than it was the previous years because the supporting cast is not as – I can't say not as strong, but not as fulfilled as it previously was.
Well, I like how you put it, and it's the reality. At least it was. Kyle Dubas wasn't in a position, based on resources available to him within the organization, and or a bushel full of great talent to bring in, to continue supporting the core group in the same way he was able to generate support for them last season with veteran presence. So it's just the reality. But the perception would be we took a shot at it in this fashion. It didn't go anywhere. And it wasn't the veterans that he brought on that you could pin that failure on. It was, Mitch Marner, as a lot of fans believe, not, being incompetent, and, Austin Matthews not being his dominant self. So those are the guys. Now, just the look and feel of it is, well, this is what was available to us. These guys, they may not be scrubs, but they're not superstars. They'll come in and do as well as they possibly can, and God knows how the hell they'll contribute to the greater mix. But at the end of the day, we need our top players, the core group, to continue their own ascent, and who's ever along for the ride will be along for the ride. Well,
I mean, in the end, it's going to be on the star players. But as we've seen over the last couple of years with Tampa Bay, it's all about it's not all about the stars. It's all about the team. It's all about the depth of the team. When, Tampa Bay is not going to be the same club this year because they lost an entire third line, either by free agent departures or the expansion draft. But they had enough depth in the organization that they'll still be a Stanley Cup contender with those guys gone. But the reason they won a cup is because they had a bottom pairing that would probably be a top 4 pairing on other teams. Their depth was incredible.
So is the Leafs depth now, Mike, again, and I apologize for interrupting, but we don't have too much time. Sure. Is the Leafs depth on paper better now than it was when that team left the ice against Montreal last spring?
I mean, I would have to be like Karnak to tell you if it's better. I mean, really, honestly, it could be, but we'd have to see how it grades out during the season. I mean, I'm intrigued to see what a guy like Bunting or what a guy like Ritchie will produce, playing besides a Matthews or in a Tavares. We don't know. Bunting played on the top line, I think, with Christian Dvorak, who just got traded to Montreal, and Kessel. I believe that was the line, or Connor. It may have been Connor Garland in Arizona. So he's played in a top 6 skill role at a very small in a very small window. So what he does with Matthews and Marner, or what he does with Tavares and Nylander is, it's going to be one of the more important factors this season. If he is less than successful, then it falls upon Nick Robertson, or then they have to move Alex Kerfoot to the wing. There's a domino effect if Bunting doesn't fit in that position. But, really they exercise the most, I would say, understandable options based on the limitations that they had. And, I think we won't know how successful they are until probably 20, 25 games into the season.
So let's go through some of the OGs and converts who've decided to join us on this return to the medium. I guess the official kickoff to season 4 of the project that is the Leafs Convo. Graham Johnstone, hey, good to see you, my friend. Hey, boys, so pumped for the hockey season start. Corey Parrish is in the mix. Atkins Zeki, I think, from Cyprus. Rav is here. Rav, a big supporter of the podcast. Jeremy W., the man, the myth, the magic. I thought you were a Kraken fan, and I guess the Kraken do lead off the new schedule.
Phil McCracken.
Stop it. The Kraken in Vegas. Be there Tuesday, October 12th at 10 p.m. Jeremy's going to be there. Johnny Howard, Dustin's here. Lamnot, or MOD, Leopard, Jug times 1's here. Tony Soprano, he's your boy, Mike, and a few others are in the mix. Guys, we appreciate all of the support. It's really nice to have you aboard. We're going to be doing this every Sunday, and then we will add shows where we see fit. So the Leafs did not exercise the garbage that is Mitch Marner. They didn't exile him. And William Nylander, after people like you and I and many others who believe that maybe he was best playing elsewhere in order for the Leafs to bring back, players that were young and who could, fit the structure a bit different. In the end, he didn't go anywhere either. So these two guys will coexist on a team that many believe can be better than it has shown. Only time will tell. But we know these guys are in their prime or entering their prime. And, whether they have supporters or haters, both are assets. Both are really good players. And both, I'm sure, feel like they, in addition to what they've already done in their accomplished careers, feel like they have some more to prove. And, we would benefit as fans watching that, and the team will certainly benefit from it too.
Yeah, I leveled criticism at Marner for his play and Matthews for their play in the playoffs, but this team wouldn't be in the playoffs if it wasn't for those players. But in the end, it's going to be how they play going forward, and whether this team has success in the postseason and gets a chance to win a Stanley Cup. I realize that, fans are down on Marner, even after scoring in the top 5 last year. I get it. That's what fandom is all about. It's sort of a roller coaster of emotions. But the talk about trading him was just so asinine, in the sense that if you were going to try to trade him, you were never going to get value for him, because he's making almost $11 million, and in a flat cap world, even a great player making that much, you were never going to get full value for him. So, it's going to be incumbent on Marner to sort of recover from the end of last season, where he didn't play well, where 18 straight games without a goal in the postseason, or Matthews struggling at the end of the year. He had off-season wrist surgery. Maybe the wrist was bothering him in the playoffs. We don't know. Nylander, after I thought sort of a tepid regular season, really did well in the playoffs, and that was without Tavares. So, the Leafs, they're going to need all of their weapons in the playoffs to be able to get through a difficult Atlantic division. If they finish second or third, they're going to play Tampa or Boston or Florida in the first round. It's a difficult road. And, there's who is to say right now whether they're capable of navigating through that. I do get the feeling in talking with, over the summer, talking with other reporters and being part of some of the media phone calls that they're with Dubas and with the people within the Leaf organization, that there is a sort of a finality here. It's like, okay, they've got to have success this year, and if they don't, then I think there are going to be changes. There could be changes in general manager. There could
Do you think
coach.
Kyle Dubas feels that? Do you feel like
I think
he thinks to himself, look, we did what we could in the offseason. It might not have been a splash. It may look like it was lesser than moves we've made in the past, and it looked like it, and it was certainly that, but it was what he could do. But deep down, he knows that, look, hey, Matthews, Marner, Nylander, dudes, I paid you all that fucking money. I need you to elevate your game. I need you to lead like you're supposed to. I need you to ascend, develop like you've been supposed to, like you're paid to. Because at the end of the day, if you guys don't do this, if we don't get through the first round with a bunch of scrubs or a bunch of stellar dudes that are brought in at the trade deadline, I'm out on my ass.
Yeah, I mean, Dubas went all in with his core group. I guess you have to respect the fact that he believes what he believes, and he's going to go to the mat with them.
Yeah, okay.
So he pushed all of his chips into the center of the table. He says, "I believe in these guys. I believe in how I've structured this team, and I'm willing to gamble my future in Toronto on that." So, I mean, I have to respect that. Do I think he's right? Well, again, the definition of insanity is to do the same thing over and over again, and expect a different result. I think that, they had the best chance of advancing and doing something last year, adding the veteran guys like, Spezza and Thornton and Foligno, and, things conspired in terms of the Tavares injury and other factors, and they lost to a team that I thought that wasn't as good as them, and that team went on to the Stanley Cup final. And I think most Leaf fans are sickened by the fact that they lost to Montreal, and that Montreal went to the Stanley Cup final, because that is a sickening prospect. And I think
what a guy.
And I think Leaf fans are sort of rubbing their hands with glee at seeing that the downfall of the Canadians during the summer, and Kotkaniemi signing with Carolina, and Shea, like all that stuff.
Why didn't they match that offer?
They didn't match the offer because Montreal doesn't think Montreal has played around with Kotkaniemi the last 3 years. They advanced him too quickly as an 18-year-old. They moved him in and out of
Bergeron's he's the greatest general manager of all time, right?
Yeah, and then it's like, so I think Kotkaniemi still has a potential of being a good player. They sort of dickered around with him a lot in Montreal, and I thought it was unfair. Maybe Carolina will have a better approach with him.
Probably.
They ended up trading for Christian Dvorak, who is somebody that the Leafs were rumored to possibly be interested in. Mm-hmm. I think he's a good player. I talked to people who don't think he's a good number 2 center for Montreal, but we'll see what happens. But they're not going to be the same team. Price is injured right now. Probably Shea Weber is never going to play again. At least that's what it sounds like. And they without Shea Weber, they're not going to be the same team. So I think Montreal is not a playoff team, but that's my own personal.
Mm-hmm. Hey, their Stanley Cup was beating the Maple Leafs, coming from behind 3-1 to conquer that dastardly team in blue and white from English Canada. And then they went on and did what they did. But it just goes to show, doesn't matter who you are, all you have to do is win the first round, and things can unravel in your favor.
Montreal fans will dine out on that for the rest of their lives.
Shouldn't they?
Yes.
Why not?
Yeah.
Why not? What are we dining out on, Mike?
1993.
Mike Foligno scoring a goal in overtime.
1993 and 94. That's what we're dining out on. We're still living. We're still living.
Nothing to do with Matt Sundin taking the team to the conference final against your Sabres in 99.
Oh yeah,
2000.
Yeah, that was 99 was great, with Rob Ray scoring a goal against Cujo, and losing to a team whose number 1 center was Mike Pekka, who I love Mike Pekka, but they lost to a team that couldn't score a goal, and they lost to them. And in the first 2 games of that series, Dominic Hasek was hurt.
And then
So,
Pekka played for the Leafs after that too, and he had one of those careers with the Leafs, like you know, one year, but career. I'm coining that term, career. That's 1 year. It's your career. But he got injured. He didn't get a chance to really flourish the way that
he wasn't the same. He wasn't the same player when he was in Toronto that he was in Buffalo. You know, and he wasn't the same player after. No, I was going to get to.
I brought up 2002 there, Murr.
Yeah, I mean,
but he doesn't like to talk about it because Matt Sundin scored
no.
goal in Game 6 to send it through to overtime, and then Marty Jelena broke their heart.
They had more success in that playoff because Matt Sundin was hurt.
Oh, stop!
And Alan
scored to tie the game in like seconds left.
Alan McCauley led them through the first 2 rounds of the playoffs, and the Shane Corson and Darcy.
Unbelievable revisionist history. Get out of here.
Where was Matt's? Please, Matt's. Great Mats. The great.
Are you anti-European? They're grapes.
No, I'm not Don Cherry. Thank you,
Mike. How on earth are the Yankees ahead of the Blue Jays? Your pitching's great. You can't score any runs. The Jays' run differential is 120. Their expected wins and loss should be 79 and 55. That would be the best out of any team that's not leading a division right now. Well, this is not fair.
If standings were based on run differential, you'd be, leading the AL East.
Yeah, I know.
But no, I mean,
the Jays are gonna run all over the Yankees, and you know it coming up here. They're gonna destroy them, but they're not gonna. They're running out of time. There's 28 games.
Yes. No. The Yankees. I mean, with the
third pitch, you guys pitch. I give you that.
And they with the return of some of their players. I mean, when you have Andrew Velasquez playing shortstop and Kyle Higashioka hitting 170.
How do they get through the Jays lineup without getting slaughtered? The Jays, you've got to look, man. I know that
it's going to be
Jays shouldn't even be in the league. The Canadian team, you can't even play baseball. I know what you Americans think.
It's going to be challenging. And the Jays have an incredible lineup, but honestly, I thought their pitching staff would be a lot better after the deadline, after they added Barrios and a couple guys in the bullpen, and it really didn't do anything. And actually, Barrios has not pitched that well. Robbie Ray has been fantastic.
Robbie Ray looks like Ron Darling.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Like he goes into the equipment room and says, "I'll take an extra small pant."
The funny thing is, I don't know how they're going to be able to sign him. I mean, it's like they're going to have to spend probably at least $20 million on him.
I'd pay for him over Semien, wouldn't you?
Well, Simeon's gone. He's gone.
It's just too much money at $25 million for a second baseman.
Yeah, but I mean, he's had a fantastic.
No, I know.
But I mean, I wonder what they're going to do with Biggio. I mean, to me, Biggio should be the guy that they put at second base, but they seem to have soured on him a little bit. Mm-hmm. So I don't know what, but there's a lot to work with there. It's just right now, I never thought the Jays were going to really challenge like the Yankees, the Rays, or the Reds. I mean, I thought that the Red Sox are the one that's.
They're a fraud. I know that there's a deep down. You have an affection for the Red Sox.
Well, yes, I love
because Dave Roberts stole that base.
Yes, I love them so much.
Yeah, he stole that base to keep it going in Game 4 of whatever the hell ALCS that was. I'm just bringing back all the bad memories. Unfortunately, I don't have any good Jays memories to share.
I think it's a 4-game series in New York with the Jays. All the Yankees have to do is win one game to
just split them. They're just the Jays five games out of a wild cards, but Boston's won 4. Like, what a fraud! Am I wrong to dislike the Red Sox? The thing is, and I even say to OGs and Converse, they reach out to me and people are like, I want to murder these guys on this team because I hate that team. And I've always and even when I worked in television with the Knights and stuff, I'm like, let's focus on our team. Everybody wants to be like us. Everybody's trying to take hacks at the big dog. Let's not show an inferiority complex. Let's not dislike teams, and we'll focus our energy in a positive way. For the most part, I follow that advice that I've given to everyone else. But in the circumstance of baseball, there's something I just can't get over about the Red Sox. I just dislike them, Mike. And I know you're a Yankee fan, so you're born into disliking.
Yeah, it's in my DNA. So yeah.
But it's I don't know if it's the way they play, and I know there's Alex Cora being a cheat and all this kind of stuff. At some point, you have to be able to turn the page, and you've paid your time for your crime, and you move on.
No.
Oh, okay.
I'll always hate that Astros team. I'll hate everybody on them forever.
All right. No, I know. OGs, don't get mad at us for talking about baseball. It's early September. Mike and I are both baseball guys, but we have hockey on the brain too. And we have plenty more hockey discussion as it relates to the Maple Brothers to come in the days, weeks, and months ahead. Mike, this was good. Catching up once again, letting the OGs know that we are alive, and season 4 of the project that we all know and love as the Leafs Convo has begun. I'm excited about it. Now it's time to continue on with our Labor Day weekend festivities. We got a little Costco coming up. That'd be nice to wait in line for an hour to fill up on gas that's overpriced anyway. So that should be good. And then some baseball, some barbecue, and we'll figure out the rest as we go along. Michael, good to see you again, buddy. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, Norm.